Hey there, welcome back to a new video with TSBG Designs. This video I'm going to be showing you how to select your photos and masks your subjects out. So there are three methods I'm going to show you. I like the second one the most, and the photos I'm using are from a pack from a guy called Untitled. So I'll just show you his account quickly. Untitled here. He's a really good designer. He's currently doing a contest. Here's the pack I got it off. Make sure to go enter his contest. It ends on February the 15th, so you only have 4 days left. At the time of shoot, I'm creating this video. Anyway, thanks to Art8. He also has a YouTube as well. Anyway, let's hop right into Adobe Photo. And I have 3 photos of LeBron for the 3 methods. So the first method is for beginners. So if you're a beginner, make sure to tune into this part. So what you want to do is you want to find your quick selection tool. So that can be found in your tool panel, right? So you want to go to quick selection tool. If it's not there in your first option, it may look something like a square with an arrow in it. All you have to do to get your quick selection tool up is just to hold down on that icon until you get these 3 options and click on your quick selection tool. And you can also use your keyboard shortcuts W, Shift and W to toggle between all 3 of those. Right, so you want your quick selection tool. The next thing you'll get is something look like a brush. It's not a brush, it's a selection. So we want to make sure you're on the add. So you can see that in this corner we've got nothing, an add and a subtract. You can also, I believe, no, never mind. So once you've got it on add, you want to toggle between the sizes of the brush like that, and just select his face briefly. It's not perfect selection at first. You just zoom in, switch the size of the brush up a bit and drag around. And the reason this is good is because it doesn't take too long. It's fairly precise, but it will give you fuzzy edges, and you'll see what I mean by that at the end. I'm just going to do a really precise thing. So when you go around the hair and the beard, I don't really bother too much with that, because I usually fix the hair and all that stuff later. So you see I have a problem here, you can't add, so you have to subtract now. So you just switch to your subtract brush and just drag in like that. And as I said, I'm not going to go too much in detail with the hair. That should be good. Once you're happy with that, you don't want to hit Control or Command J because you're working destructively now. Instead of doing that, you want to hit this mask in the bottom of your panel, whatever you call this, right? So hit mask and it's masked. So that way you can see I've missed out this R, E, S, sorry my bad. You can just go to your brush, make sure it's on white by checking your paintbrush color and just painting over that, and also make sure your opacity is on 100. That's why I use a mask, and that's one of the biggest misconceptions or errors I've seen people make, is that they're not using masks, so that way they're working indestructibly. Another good thing about masks is if you miss something, you add it back in. But if you have something a bit too much, it flows on. If you have too much, you can also just remove it. And obviously that's not a good job. But when you are removing stuff, I would suggest you either use the lasso tool, again Shift L to get to that, and I'll talk a bit more about the lasso tool later on in the video. A brief outline, and then you can just go back over with your brush. But yeah, as I said, I will talk a bit more about that in the further on in the video. Okay, so now you get the gist of sorry about this, I'm just doing a brief. Now you get how to use a quick selection tool. Let's go on to the second idea, and I will explain about the hair, how to make the hair look a lot better. Right, so method number 2 is my favorite method, since it's quick, not really quick, but it's fairly fast compared to the next method, and it's also pretty precise. So this method will benefit off depth of field, and what depth of field is you can see how blurry the background is. So the more blurry the background is, the better this method will work. So this method is selecting your subject. So to do that, you go to your tools panel, whatever this bar is at the top, and you go to select, and you want to go to subject. Okay, so you click select subject. It'll take a while. So what Photoshop is doing is it's using intelligence to select pixels or colors essentially on the depth of field. So you can see that's pretty much done, exactly what we did in the other part, right? So now let's just zoom in a bit, and you just want to check that all the edges are good. So I'm not going to worry too much about the top of his hair because it's LeBron, he's nearly bald. We're just going to go around the edges of the eyelash. I'm not going to worry too much about because that will be hard to get right. What I am going to do though is now show you that selecting the subject is not always 100% accurate, because we are lucky this time though that the depth of field is done us pretty well. So you could just hit mask immediately, but then you'd be left with this problem of the beard, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to get our lasso tool. Once you've gotten your lasso tool, you're going to make sure it's on add. It's the exact same system as the quick selection tool. It's the exact same system for all selection tools. You should have a add, subtract, and not sure what this is. You should have all 3 or 4. And what you want to do is the square by itself is just a normal selection, so that will remove, not remove, it will just create its own selection, disregard whatever else is there. The add will add to the selection, and the subtract will subtract from the selection. In this case you want to use the add, and all we're going to do is we're just going to go like this around the beard, and I'll show you why. Right? Otherwise it's looking pretty good, right? So we're going to hit mask, but because this is so good, there's no chance for me to show you how to use this method if the depth of field wasn't as good. So say the depth of field wasn't as good, and say a part of his arm had just been missed out like that, right? So that had been missed out. You can use the pen tool because it's quite a big chunk, right? then use the pen tool like that, hit, oh that's not very good, hit like that, drag, hit Alt, complete it. I will be explaining more about the pen tool later on, so then just complete it, right click, make selection, and add to selection, and then there's intersect, which was the other option. We're going to go to add, hit OK, it's back to normal. And obviously there's add to selection as well, and you can use the minus again from the quick selection, and that is why I like to use select subject for this, because it gives you way more variations and it's a lot more precise. So once we hit mask, you'll see that we are left with no fuzzy edges then compared to our quick selection version, which if you look at the hair up here, that looks a bit weird. That doesn't look like normal hair to me, whereas if we zoom in to the hair here, that looks a lot better, and you can see how crisp everything is. Obviously there's a bit messed up here, but I haven't gone around the whole selection properly, and it's a bit missed out here on the arm. But that's what we have our mask for, right? So we can just go to X to switch between colors, make it a bit small. Now you want a fairly hard brush, right? Fixed. Same thing here, X, and we'll just go like that. Okay, fixed. I will be using these cutouts in a design, so that's why I'm going over that middle one a bit more precise. Right, now with the beard here, as I said, to not make it look like this, very jagged and not refined, we're going to use the refine edge tool. So to do that, we're going to double click on our mask, or you can go to your selection thing and hit select and mask, or go to select and mask. I'm just going to double click on the mask like so, and it brings you into this. What you want to do is go to the second option. If you hover over it, you will say refine edge brush tool, or shift R, and it looks like a brush with some lines under it. So let's just show you that, right? So now we're in it, and it looks pretty similar to the quick selection tool. I don't usually mess around with the stuff on the right. If I have imported the image into a background already and I'm editing it like that, I will go to the view panel and I will click on layers like so. But usually I don't do that. I just have the image in its own document, so then it's usually just an overlay, red, or I can change the color by just using color picker, right? So yeah, so once you're happy with all your settings, I don't usually mess around with this. Feather just makes it a bit more like you see, and smooth, not sure what that does. Yeah, I'm not sure what smooth does, not sure what radius does either. Anyway, once you're happy with all your settings, you want to zoom in to this part that you have left unselected. You're going to make your brush a fairly good size. You don't need to make this really perfect, because you'll see what I mean. And you want to make sure it's an add, not minus. I don't know, I don't really tend to use minus that much. And you just want to go over the hair like this and let the magic happen in front of your eyes. Okay, there you go. It's already looking realistic, very realistic. Okay, you see that looks like a proper beard and not a cutout, because what it's done, I'm not sure how it does this, but it's done it and made it look like there are spaces between the hairs and it's not just one big cutout. So hit OK when you're happy, and then go back to your mask. You see you've got this black bit, go to your brush, make sure it's on hard, and just brush away with it, making sure you're on black. There you go. That's the second option. That's what I like to use. It's quick and it's precise. Right. The final option, which is probably more commonly used, I would say the second option is the most underrated out of all three. I know Calsoscope uses the second option quite a bit. If you don't know, make sure to check him out. He's a great designer, great photo manipulation artist, I guess, if you can call him that, or if that's the word for it. The next option is the pen tool. So with the pen tool, I've already shown you pretty much how to use it. What you do is you set an anchor point on the skin, on the border of the skin, right, and you just draw a line like that. I don't know why it's being a bit weird. Okay, just draw a line, right? So you can see there's a slight curve, and a straight line doesn't do that. And rather than just clicking like this, rapidly making small, you can do that on just one big click. So to do that, you set your point, but don't take your finger off the mouse, and you drag slightly until it adds up. And now you see it comes up with this set line for you, and then if you say you want to point up there, it's not very exact, and that will make it worse even later when you see selecting circles and heads and stuff like that. So what you want to do is go to the anchor, hold Alt or Option, and click, and that gets rid of that. So then you can create your own line from there. And what's great about this method is you can always undo your point if you're not happy with it by hitting Control or Command Z or Z, however you like to say it. Right. I'm just going to speed this process up. It's pretty boring to watch, so have fun watching the time lapse. Okay, so once you get to the hair with the pen tool, you can go to a certain point, otherwise it will then just look like a straight cutout with no texture or lines, whereas the select subject tool gives you a slight amount of texture even on hair like this where he does seem pretty much bald. So that's why you can obviously see I'm a bit biased towards the select subject tool, probably because it's a lot easier. Not easier, but yeah. So once you get here, you can make a straight selection out, but then you will probably have to go and use Refine Edge, and I don't think Refine Edge will look that good in this situation or whatever, so we'll see about that. Anyway, continue with the time lapse. Right, so once you get to the hair, it's the exact same thing as the lasso tool. You just go around it, and this time you have a bit more control of where you go. It's not that important whether or not you do, just as long as you get around it with enough space to use the Refine Edge brush tool. Okay, so once you're happy with your selection, all you've got to do is just join the ends up and just make sure you actually haven't missed anything out. So you just hover over the spot until you see the circle appear, click on it, and there you go, you've got your path. And then again, right click, make selection, hit OK, so it's a new selection, and you just want to hit mask, as we've done so far. Then again, it's just going to your select and mask tool and using a Refine Edge brush tool. Another way you can do that is if you click on the mask icon, you can go to this select and mask box, and that should take you to select and mask. So this time I'm going to start off with the hair, the head hair, that's what we're going to call it. We're just going to get a small brush, and that's what I don't like to use add. I'm just going to go with the minus. Nope. Right, we're just going to hit cancel, and I'm going to show you what to do if that happens to you. So that happens to you, it's a good thing we're using mask, because you can just hit mixture in white, so hit X, and then just again create that extra layer over the top to mask out the hair. Simple. And then again double click, or however you want to get to select and mask, and zoom in a bit, and we're just, oh, that's not so good, and we're just going to go over the top with our refine edge brush tool. So the end of this video I will compare all three methods for you, but right now I'll tell you that the key difference a lot of designers use the pen tool rather than the subject tool or the quick selection tool is that they have a lot more control over what they're selecting, and also the subject tool, I don't think there are many designers actually know of that tool, or know that you can use the lasso tool whilst you're in select to add or subtract from your selection. And I think that if they did, most designers would use that, because it gets the bulk of the selection done for you. And with the lasso tool, making curves is a lot easier. Okay, so I will attach, actually I won't attach these because as I said, these are from Untitled 8, and he's made a pack of these in a design contest. Make sure to go check him out on Instagram at Untitled 8, and I think he's a YouTube as well. He does have a YouTube actually, and I'm not sure what that at is for that. Right, there we go. Pretty good. Hit OK, and there you go. Let me know which selection you think is the best, and let me know which one you think you're going to use down in the comments. And as I said, I'm going to give a brief advantages and disadvantages of all the three methods. So with the quick selection tool, one thing good about it is it's really quick. So if you need a brief selection for something that's going to go in the background, it's probably going to be, say in a manipulation, it's going to go in the background and it's going to be blurred maybe, or it's going to be a bit darker or lighter so that its details aren't that clear, then yeah, you should probably use the quick selection tool, because you just don't need to spend a lot of time on something that's not going to be that important. One bad thing about it though is you do get fuzzy edges, and its accuracy has a big question mark next to it, but it's a great tool for beginners because their feel for Photoshop and this software may not be that great. But if you're up to the task as a beginner, sure, use these two methods. Pros and cons about the subject tool. Pros, it's faster than the pen tool, but not as fast as the quick selection tool. Obviously when we're saying how fast it is, I'm talking about how long it will take you to mask something out, but the speed depends on you obviously as a designer, because say you're using the quick selection tool and you can use the method we applied to the subject tool in the quick selection method, right? You can use your lasso tool, you can even use the pen tool, and you can just go like this. I'm just going to make it really brief, but it's being a bit slow, like that, and you can just remove all that. So speed varies on which one you think is the best, right? Obviously the pen tool will take the longest no matter what, but going back to the subject tool, it's fast, for me it's very accurate the way I use it. The only negative thing is if you have a bad low depth of field, I think, then it'll be hard to use that tool, and it may take more time than this took me. This took me a few clicks. The pen tool, pro about it, obviously it's very accurate, and the designer has complete control of what he or her is doing. And obviously I've told you, probably know what the disadvantage is that it takes a long time. But if you think about it, this selecting and masking this image of LeBron James out probably took me around 4 or 5 minutes. But and if you think about how much time that is in your entire process of making a design, that's really not that much time. But as you can see, there are some parts that don't look good, and if you do bump up the texture and some filters, those may show your flaws. So yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching. As always, make sure you like and subscribe. Also, this time comment down below in the comments, obviously, which method you like the most and which one you're going to think, which one you might use. Also, let me know via DM or even in the comments if you want any tutorials and specifically what they're on. I probably will be coming out with a tutorial on how to make a design like this with not the best quality photos. Anyway, thanks for watching.